The Oklahoma mood tracker, probably the biggest complaint, well, the second biggest complaint on the show about the past month or so is, where's the Oklahoma mood tracker? The first complaint largely has to do with my wardrobe, and that's private matter. The second complaint, though, I was tired of listening to. Not because you were annoying, but because you were right. We got to get the Oklahoma mood tracker in. So we let spring almost get out of here. Oklahoma spring game, I think, is this Saturday. They're expecting over 60K in Norman, by the way. So this may be one of the most intriguing mood trackers for the drive-by college football fans out there that we have. Because even if you don't know all the particulars, maybe you can't name Brent Venables' entire assistant coaching ladder that he brought with him. What you do know is you know that guy that's at USC now was there, and the guy that was the quarterback's all the way over at where? Yeah, South Carolina. And haven't they been popping off at each other? Anyway, at Netflix, you know what? I hear there have been better days at Netflix. If you want a cheap and affordable and ready-made series, Oklahoma football circa 2021-2022. I've already got the casting done. I already got the story arcs written. All you need to do is call me for a nominal fee. We'll get you hooked up. OUinsider.com was the destination, and quite frankly, it always is for all of your Oklahoma Sooner scoop. But I went there today, and I posed the same question I do to all of our fan bases. My current mood towards OU football is fill in the blank. And boy, did they respond. Now, predictably, they're excited. And therefore, predictably, a lot of the responses I cannot use on air. Because we fancy ourselves a show where little Johnny can sit in Dad's passenger seat on his way to school in the morning and be exposed to this podcast with no risk involved. I respect and appreciate the responses, but I'm going to have to stick with taking them, balling them all up, and what I came to is actually a submission that was put on the board there. Steak over sizzle, preferring steak over sizzle. So the Oklahoma mood right now is appreciating the sizzle, but preferring the steak. Obviously, we're juxtaposing the Lincoln Riley era to what we think the Brent Venables era will bring. Here's the thing about your typical Oklahoma fan right now. I think they're mischaracterized nationally. Nationally, folks still think they're out there crying about Lincoln Riley. They're still raw about him. But the tears have long since dried up. These people are very, very excited about Brent Venables. It's nice to have a video game offense. That was fun. That was very nice. It's not like they didn't like that. They loved a quarterback always being in Heisman contention. They loved to be an offense that the rest of the country looked at and feared. They loved that they virtually ran the Big 12. They loved all that, but I'll tell you what they didn't love. They didn't love going into a playoff situation and knowing they were probably going to need 50 plus if they stood any chance of winning. That was Oklahoma football when Lincoln Riley was there. This is the Oklahoma mood. This is not even me talking. This is what an Oklahoma Sooner fan would tell you. So believe it or not, there is some excitement to get a guy in there named Brent Venables who has not been a head coach, but who they think is a very, very good culture fit. A lot of people say that. They firmly believe it there. I have no reason to doubt them. Number two, they believe there was a need for a style change there and a philosophy change, even if Lincoln Riley were still the head coach. So they got two of those pieces moved instead of just one. I know a lot of you read the Players Tribune article from Lincoln Riley that was written earlier this week. If you haven't checked it out, go to the Players Tribune, check it out. There were some interesting, very interesting takeaways. This is going to come as a shock to you, but Lincoln Riley's letter in the Players Tribune did not do a whole heck of a lot to move the emotion needle and the forgiveness needle in Norman, Oklahoma. I had about one or two Oklahoma buddies reach out and say, you know, I appreciate he did that. We'll let bygones be bygones. About the time they got the sentence out of their mouth, the other 98% of the fan base put the shh index finger over their lips, and they said, ball it up, throw it in the garbage, we're done with him. That's how most of them feel. Doesn't really matter what was written in the Players Tribune. And I think there were probably some ulterior motives for having written that in the Players Tribune. I'm not saying I'd handle myself any differently if I was Lincoln Riley. I'm telling you what an Oklahoma fan's mood is right now. An Oklahoma fan's mood is they really believe in Brent Venables. Here's the counter. If you're just watching in Shreveport, Louisiana, and let's say you're a Louisiana Lafayette fan, and you're not attached to this in any way, you may say what a lot of America is saying. A lot of the casual college football crowd out there is looking at Oklahoma fan, and they're saying, if you really believed in Brent Venables so much, you wouldn't have Lincoln Riley's name in your mouth every other sentence. Well, they don't, anymore, quite to the degree they did, but it is still a sore subject. Guys, it's been 4.5 months, hasn't been 4.5 years. So whomst amongst you would not still be rubbed the wrong way if the guy who said he wanted to spend the rest of his career in your hometown all of a sudden bolted because, in his words, his agent called with a little bit better offer. It's natural. It's human nature. Favorite Michael Jackson song, it applies perfectly here. I don't think once the season starts, you will hear a fraction of the talk about Lincoln Riley from Oklahoma, even that you do right now. It's possible to still be a little aggravated with the way things ended with your ex, but be in a happy relationship. That's where Oklahoma fans are right now. And secondly, Brent Venables has come in, and now we look at the future, because that's what the segment's all about. We look at the future, what's the most likely thing to happen? Well, the most likely thing to happen is, first off, we're going to get to find out what Brent Venables, the head coach, is all about. You can forecast it, you can guess. There is no substitute for real-world head coaching experience. He does not have any. He's about to get a lot of it, and on a very, very big platform. We've seen Kirby Smart handle it well. We've seen Ryan Day handle it well. We saw Lincoln Riley handle it well. We've seen other guys not handle it well. So remains to be seen there. But even as we start to get introduced to Brent Venables, the head coach, as the season goes on, we're also going to see if that whole culture thing starts to take root. Because the best case scenario is, like I always mention, you get that Sam Pittman effect. You get that Mel Tucker effect. You get that Shane Beamer effect. You get this intangible kind of congealing between the head coach and the fan base and the culture and the administration and recruits. As soon as they step off of campus after their official visits, they keep raving about this thing that exists at Oklahoma. And they can't really put their finger on it, but they've gone visits elsewhere in the country and they haven't felt quite what they feel at Oklahoma. If you start sensing that, and if you start hearing that, and you start feeling that, you'll have it. That it, like I said, very intangible. That's why they call it culture. You know, there's not a blueprint, there's not a PowerPoint where it's just a bullet point 1, 2, 3, 4 kind of procedure, and all of a sudden, voila, you have culture. You got to have the right guy in the head coach's chair. They are totally sold that they have that. So yes, while they are still rubbed the wrong way by Lincoln Riley, and they would not substitute any bodily fluids even if he was on fire next to him, they are also happy to have Brent Venables. Nay, they are ecstatic to have Brent Venables. You know why? Because they, in retrospect, don't feel like they had one of theirs in the past. They do feel like they have one of theirs at home now. We'll see how this works out. It's going to be one of the most fun programs to watch this year. And they, all the while, are about to move to the SEC in a few years.